Good morning, all. I'm Rocco Landesman, Chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this Cultural Workforce Forum. As you know, we are experimenting today by doing a live webcast of today's meeting. There are a number of researchers, funders, and other folks interested in participating today, but for one reason or another, they were not able to make it all the way to DC today. Parenthetically, I'd like to especially thank those listening on the West Coast. It was a pretty late decision that we made to stream this. It was originally going to be, I think, here, which wouldn't have been a problem, and then we decided to put it on out for webcast, and next time we'll put it out at a time when people on the West Coast might actually want to listen to it. I promise. To allow them to be able to listen to at least some of today's presentations and discussions, as well as to allow others who care about these issues to listen in, we're opening up participation through the internet. Since I arrived at the NEA 3 months ago, I've been saying two words over and over again: art works. And I mean these words in two ways. Art works is a noun. It is the stuff that artists produce: paintings, plays, music, dances, etc. Then art works is a reminder of why any of us went into the arts in the first place. Art works to transform and transport audiences, and art works to help us understand the people we are, as well as imagine the people we may become. And finally, art works in a literal sense. Artists are entrepreneurs. Arts organizations are small businesses. Some of them are large businesses, and the arts are part of this country's real economy. That isn't news to any of you. You've been working with these very issues for your careers, and we have a lot to learn from you. Because the NEA funds some 22 or 2,300 organizations all across the United States, we are lucky enough to have a very broad view of the arts sector. One of the best things we can do from our seat is to convene people from across the country to come together and discuss the issues we all care about. Thank you for coming today, and I hope to see a lot more of you over the next years. I, unfortunately, am only going to be able to stay with you for the beginning of the day, but when I need to leave, I will leave you in the able hands of the extraordinary Joan Shigekawa, Joan, who is my senior deputy chairman, and Sunil Iyengar, our director of research, who's actually the reason we're all here today. So let me turn the proceedings over to Sunil, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks, Sunil.
Thank you very much, Rocco. And welcome, everyone. As the chairman has noted, the NEA's Office of Research and Analysis is the true instigator of today's event, bringing you all together to review the state of research on arts and cultural workers and to explore new avenues for such research, including their implications for policies and programs. As the NEA's research director, I feel grateful to have the opportunity to engage with all the talent in this room, skilled administrators of arts and cultural programs, dedicated heads of organizations representing artists and arts workers, and distinguished researchers from the academic, nonprofit, and commercial sectors and from other federal agencies. Just a word about these researchers. They include economists, sociologists, and survey planners who in many cases have already made rich contributions to our empirical knowledge about arts and culture. They represent some, but not all, of the most innovative work being done today to more clearly define artists and arts and cultural workers so that we, the broader public, can appraise and appreciate them as assets in our communities. You might say that today's conversation is long overdue, which is why we have a quixotic, soaringly ambitious agenda ahead of us today. If you'll turn to it for a moment, the day is divided into 4 parts, or 4 panels. The first will feature a set of talks about what we know about artists and how we know it. After a short break, we move into panel 2, putting the research to work. And these talks will include research that has been conducted in part for its policy implications or for its social utility. Then, after a well-deserved lunch, we'll sally into panel 3, widening the lens to capture other cultural workers. Up to this point, we will have focused almost exclusively on artists, but now we ask about other cultural workers. How broadly or narrowly do we as researchers and practitioners in the arts want to go, and to what purpose? Then comes a general discussion period in which we hope to hear more from the audience, and finally to have a brainstorm session posing 2 questions. From a policy or programming perspective, what are the most critical issues to study, And what are some promising new methods, resources, and technologies that can be used by researchers? In addition to making this forum available via webcast, we intend to record and issue proceedings so that they can perhaps guide our colleagues and ourselves at the NEA in shaping a research agenda for artists, arts workers, cultural workers, or all of the above in the 21st century. Now, before we go around for introductions, I want to point out some of my staff who are here with us. First, to my left is from the NEA's research office is Ellen Grantham, who will be our timekeeper. Be nice to her. With two exceptions, all of our speakers have been allotted 10 minutes. I'll keep you in suspense about those two exceptions. And I'm afraid we'll have to be very strict about that to keep us all on schedule. We want to ensure there's as much discussion time as possible. And Ellen will give you the 2-minute warning. There are also Q&A sessions sprinkled throughout the day. We'll make every effort to get to everyone, initially those seated around the table and also audience members. Those of you in the audience, I want to encourage you to raise your hand and get the attention of a staff member who's standing by when you want to speak. This morning we have Sarah Sullivan there on the left from our research office. And we also have some gracious volunteers, Pepper Smith and Liz Mahaffey and Liz Stark, who are floating around. I'd also like to recognize Tom Bradshaw in our office, who's seated at the table with us, Nona Milstead, if she's here, and Kelly Rogowski, if you could stand up. Kelly's done some of the most heavy lifting to get us set up. And finally, though she's not here today, Bonnie Nichols, who wrote a lot of those research notes you see out there on the table. One final piece of housekeeping. I need to advise our audience members that the NEA will be recording and photographing all Cultural Workforce Forum activities today, including presentations, discussion sessions, questions from the audience, and shots of the room, possibly including the audience for informational, educational, and governmental purposes. You'll hear me repeat this a couple times throughout the day. By your attendance, you consent to the use of your appearance, likeness, and voice by the NEA and its licensees and designees in all media worldwide and in perpetuity, including for posting on the NEA's website. After that daunting bit, let's resume. Let's start with introductions. I'd like to go around this way, actually with Joan, just if you could, if you can say your name and affiliation, and for those of you seated at the table, if you just press the button to speak into the mic and make sure to speak directly into the mic. Thanks. Yes.
So I'm Joan Shigekawa, and I'm with the National Endowment for the Arts.
I'm Jennifer Day. I'm with the U.S. Census Bureau.
I'm Mary Jo Waits. I'm with the National Governors Association Center for Best Practices.
I'm Randy Cohen. I'm with Americans for the Arts.
I'm Ruby Lerner. I'm with the Creative Capital Foundation.
Paul DiMaggio with the Center for Arts and Cultural Policy Studies at Princeton University.
Tom Bradshaw, National Endowment for the Arts.
I'm Greg Wassel from Northeastern University.
I'm Deirdre Gaquin. I'm an independent consultant who works on some projects with the National Endowment.
I'm Judy Lee Reed with Leveraging Investment.
Hi, I'm Carrie Sandahl. I'm from the University of Illinois at Chicago. I'm in the Department of Disability and Human Development, and I've just moved there to start a new program in disability art, culture, and humanities.
I'm Joan Jeffrey with the Research Center for Arts and Culture at Columbia University's Teachers College.
Stephen Tepper with the Curve Center for Art, Enterprise, and Public Policy at Vanderbilt and the Strategic National Arts Alumni Project.
I'm Angela Hahn with the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies.
I'm Nick Rabkin at the National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago.
Holly Sidford with Helicon Collaborative.
Maria Jackson with the Urban Institute.
David Cohen with the Department for Professional Employees, AFL-CIO, which includes the Arts, Entertainment, and Media Industries Industry Coordinating Committee, 9 arts, entertainment, and media unions.
I'm Ann Markison. I run the Arts Economy Initiative at University of Minnesota.
I'm Ellen Grantham, and I'll be your timekeeper.
Thank you. I have to be reminded myself. We'd like to invite the researchers in the audience to please, actually, if you can raise your hand, and Sarah Sullivan over there and Liz will pass out a mic, and we'd love to hear your name and affiliation as well. There's some researchers we know in the audience. Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Oh, up the front row. Thanks.
Hi, Mark Stern, University of Pennsylvania.
Jennifer Bradley, the Brookings Institution.
Susan Seifert, University of Pennsylvania.
Anyone else?
Carlos Manjarres, Research Director at the Institute of Museums and Library Services.
Carol Rosenstein from George Mason University.
We have a couple more.
Excuse me, Chris Dwyer.
She spoke directly into the mic, you know.
Is this on? Yeah, I'm Phil Katz. I'm Assistant Director for Research at the American Association for Museums.
Great. Is that it? All right. Well, we certainly want to hear from the others of you later in the day, and we'll have an opportunity for questions, and at which point we hope to can have you introduce yourselves.